Word.
What's up, everyone? I'm Alec. You're watching A Fistful of Vinyl, and my guest tonight is Hobo Johnson.
Hello.
Frank, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing really good.
I'm super psyched to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This feels very like full circle, you know?
Yeah.
Like I remember it was probably like 2 years ago at this point when we were first talking on Facebook about like doing a session, and you sent me your music, and I was like, this stuff is awesome. I want to make it happen. And like, I mean, in the meantime, you blew up. You went from being an artist who like would benefit from our help to like kind of like we were talking about last night. You're an artist who's now is like in a position to help like the other smaller artists by like, you know, kind of bringing exposure to the channel.
Yeah.
So that's really sick, especially for like the amount of like history you have kind of in the folk punk scene, you know?
Yeah, I'm interested in where my real place is in it, but I'm not so sure. But
Well, you certainly have origins there, right?
yeah, I just really like love the music, I guess. Like I don't know necessarily how much my music like goes into it, but it's one of my favorite genres or whatever you call it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I know you talked about like AJJ being an influence of yours.
Front Bottoms.
Front Bottoms, Pat the Bunny was one of them.
Bunny, yeah.
Daniel Johnson, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you're like not really sure if it finds its way into your music though, the influence?
I think it must in some way, just like at least lyrically, but I don't know like composition wise, but definitely lyrically I feel like it's it's such like this honest genre of music that I try to like emulate, and I think that's influenced me a lot to just be more honest, I guess.
So it's like a philosophical influence.
I think so. Maybe musically too. I'm not so sure. I'm not the best like person to say, but I definitely philosophical, I'd say.
That's really cool. And yeah, as far as like your music goes, like you genre blend like no other. And based on what you just said, it makes me wonder if like there is like a delineation of like, oh, I borrowed kind of like this style from this person or this from this genre, or if it just kind of all feels right. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It all feels right to me. I think that at least with like the Front Bottoms, like the simplicity I found like really with some songs like really fascinating and like grabbed my attention really quickly. So I think it like made me kind of focus on that simplicity and how just one melody line can hold a whole song together, and how it's like maybe even easier to grasp onto, at least for me.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like one way or another is in there, like in the melting pot of everything.
Yeah, it kind of broadened maybe like the spectrum of like what music needs to be. If like, you know, somebody says like, you know, to be a touring artist with a band, you need like guitar, bass, drums, whatever.
Yeah.
And like, well, look, here's some dudes who like make some music sometimes with 2 notes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's rad. Yeah, and just a guitar, and especially like Pat the Bunny being on it too. It's like just a few chords, and you can do like a great, like you can make an amazingly beautiful song with just like 3 or 4 chords. It's pretty.
Yeah, and make it like 100% your own too, like super recognizable.
Yeah.
Although funny enough, my girlfriend and I did discover that you can sing the lyrics to Wagon Wheel and vice versa, a song for a supermarket parking lot.
Really?
They line up like almost perfectly.
Interesting.
I invite everybody to try that, by the way.
Yeah, you should. I mean, that's a lot of songs. Like,
Well, yeah,
it's all like we're all sharing the same chords, you know.
well, there's that argument that sometimes frustrates me where it's like so-and-so ripped off so-and-so.
Yeah.
Everybody gets musical influence from somewhere. None of this happens in a vacuum.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know?
I agree.
So I feel like while people are certainly like entitled to like own their creativity,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like a dangerous road to go down to say like you borrowed this person's creativity when like could be you were just messing around with the same 4 chords.
Yeah, and more likely like that person, whatever, got influenced by something else, and it all just like goes up and up and up until you trace it. I don't know. I'm sure you could trace it at some point, but
I'm told a lot of it ends with Debussy.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. A lot of the classical stuff, I think that makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah, it kind of started the whole impressionistic thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, from that point forward, like took influence from that.
Like common chord structures and stuff like that.
That and like even like deviation away from like, because like classical music grew in such an interesting way where like it in some ways it started as like purely a religious thing.
Yeah.
And in that sense, like to make it indulgent was like an affront of some kind.
Yeah.
To like Debussy was, trying to paint with sounds, and
Right.
it's incredible because like it makes sense. You can visualize it, or at least like bring your own interpretation to
Totally,
it.
100%.
And I feel like so much of the modern music that resonates with me has that quality of
Yeah.
like I relate to it this way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you interpret it your own kind of at your own pace. Yeah, I think that makes sense for sure.
It makes the audience the final collaborator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. So I was listening to another interview of yours. You talked about music kind of as a form of medicine. I would love to hear you kind of elaborate on that concept.
Yeah. Let's see. So I would say I'm a generally sad person in my life. So I use like a lot of different music to make me feel better. Sorry, I just dropped this big ass.
That's not expensive, is it? No, you're good. Oh, wonderful.
Awesome. So it's like, and sometimes when I get like really upset or depressed or whatever it is, I can like lean on certain records and have leaned on certain different records like through the course of my life
Yeah.
to like help me get through that. So yeah, I really think it is like such like medicine for people, and like I think obviously music is one of the biggest businesses in the whole world. It's played everywhere you go virtually, like so I think it's really important. And for me, like whatever place I have in that too, it's like it's cool to, I don't know, try to also help in any way I can.
So you talked about like certain records being like therapeutic or cathartic for you. Are there any that come to mind immediately?
Yeah, I mean the Front Bottom self-titled, I would say is like one of those like I was living in my car, and that was the one that like I really listened to, and I was going through like kind of a rough time. So that's a really important one to me. Chance the Rapper Acid Rap is one of those albums for me. Bright Eyes, I'm Wide Awake It's Morning
Yes.
is one of those for me.
It's on the wall in my room.
Is it?
Yeah.
I
got real sad and real happy at that record.
Exactly. I love like just those things you can yell along to. I'm sure there's like countless other ones. New Trunk Hotel,
On the wall too.
Airplane Over the Sea is like one of those records too.
Yeah.
And along with probably 20 other ones, but those are my mains.
Nice. So it's got to feel cool to like be in a position where your music can sort of begin to serve that purpose for other people.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine it's still medicinal for you as well. It's like kind of like the writing process, the performance process.
Yeah, it is. The writing process, 100%. The performance process is getting a little tough for me sometimes because I put so much pressure on like us having a good show, which like it's mostly just us in our own heads about it, I think, because sometimes people like we play a bad show and people like it somehow. Like last night we played the Will Turn, and I thought we played so shittily, and I thought it was such a bad show.
I disagree.
Yeah, that's very nice. And people came up to me after the show and like said that it was cathartic for them or whatever. So it's like I'm trying to lose that whole like trying to make the performance process more like medicinal, I guess, and care less, or I don't know if it's care less or care more. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just kind of accept what you do or accept what it is, you know. And I don't know. I kind of have this philosophy that like all experience has an absolute value, and it's all moving you further away from zero.
Yeah.
So even if you get out there and have what could be like a bad show, like
Yeah.
it kind of depends on what you take from it. It's
guess.
like, oh shit, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
Well, you got something out of it.
It's a learning process, 100%. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Lyrically, your content, it seems, I mean, it's obviously like very, very personal, I imagine autobiographical, right?
Yeah.
Does writing in that way serve as like catharsis and like helping you kind of like move on from things that are potentially traumatic?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the only way for me to get past anything is if I write about it and feel better about it. It's like, I don't have a diary and I don't really write that ever. Like the only time I ever almost even talk about it, I don't talk about it too much about when I go through stuff like that, and I didn't, especially in the past, I didn't really feel like I had anyone to talk to about it. So that was my only outlet, and still is like what feels like my only outlet to like get it off my chest.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's the most effective one, it sounds like.
Yeah, and people vibe with it, so.
So in singing about the stuff that is kind of, at least like orbited the trauma you've had in the past, or like heartbreak, or you know, what are these powerful experiences that influence your music? is that trauma at all like relived in performing it? Is there any like kind of does it unearth feelings, or does it kind of separate you further from them by making it into something new?
I would say it unearths them, but it feels good for them to be unearthed.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm on stage, sometimes like I'll really feel and I'll click in, and for some reason, some days it's like certain songs, it kind of they'll be like what I was thinking about that day.
Mm.
So I'll like click in, and it's like a complete like release of that emotion, which is good, and I love it. And I think eventually, if it stops feeling like that, like I don't know if I'd really want to perform anymore. Because it's like
you're in it for the love of it, right?
Exactly. But I guess on the other side, like people go to it and like makes them feel good and feel better. So I don't know. It's kind of like a tricky back and forth.
Well, it's music as solace, and music almost as like a service or as a therapy for others too.
Yeah, it's weird to like think that though. It's like, oh, I make music that makes people feel better, like which is weird to think, or to like. It feels like kind of, I don't know, a little much for me, but it's just, yeah.
You don't get to tell people how to feel about your
that's
music,
true.
you know?
That's like, true. That's true. It just feels weird to say like, yeah, I don't know. But it's sick. It's sick to talk to people after the shows and them say like, you know, it made me feel better.
Yeah. You're so I noticed when you were performing last night, like seeing you on stage was unlike any recording, you know, studio or live that I've ever seen of yours. How much of like what you're feeling goes into like influencing that particular performance? It doesn't seem like you're aiming to make something sound the same way every time. It seems influenced by like kind of like your state at that time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's always kind of different depending on like the day. It's always kind of a little bit different.
Yeah, and I know people have said about your music it has sort of like an extemporaneous quality or like an improvisational quality, which I feel like doesn't give you enough credit because. I mean, having seen you perform live, having seen like the things that seemed like sort of like divergence or tangents when you were performing the first time I saw, like they're still in the music. Like that's a part of it. It's part of the poetry.
Yeah.
So I feel like almost calling your music spontaneous or improvisational like undermines it. In a way.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. I definitely like appreciate that aspect of it, the spontaneity.
Yeah.
Especially when we're live, like we try to just like let it go. But yeah, I don't know. It sounds good to me.
How much of it is like your live performance is like a reflection of like you and your band that day, and how much of it is like a reciprocation to the audience?
Half and half, I'd say. Like that's a really interesting question. I'd like to get down to it more. Because at the end of the day, like, people say, like, oh, tough crowd, or the crowd's, like, not into it tonight. But I don't necessarily agree with that because it's, like, you should... I don't see how people could be so different in, like, LA rather than, like, Portland or something. Like,
sure.
But, so I like to always say that it's, like, us and our band, the ones who are, like, providing the energy. It just makes it easier to... Instead of blaming other people.
Yeah.
These crowd are weird. They don't like our band. You're weird.
I'm pretty sure the crowd loves it when you do that.
Yeah.
You guys do better. We did perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That would be like a funnier way to go about it, but it's probably us. Yeah, it's probably us.
Well, I mean, but I think that's a good thing to be aware of too, because then like if there's something that needs correction, you get to kind of like. I tend not to agree with people whose reflex is to blame outward.
Yeah.
Everyone knows people like that. Or like I think it's so much better to like look at yourself first and figure out what accountability you have. And yeah. Kind of hungry. Are you hungry?
I'm hungry.
I'm really hungry.
I'm hungry.
Should we put a pause on this and go get some In-N-Out?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is so moody.
Right?
Why don't you do interviews out here?
You know, when we were kind of talking about like gauging stuff live and then like, you know, bringing in more energy or less energy depending on like how you guys were feeling that day, you kind of reminded me of one of the very first interviews that we ever did.
Huh.
Do you know Shaky Graves out of Austin, Texas? He's like a kind of country folk guitarist. He's gotten like pretty big, but when he was starting out, he just had like a a suitcase with a drum in it that you can play guitar.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I think I've heard the name, but I haven't listened to any of the music. I don't think.
I would say like especially if you're doing like a Fistful of Vinyl retrospective, like you go back and check that one out because we had no fucking idea what we were doing when we filmed that. It was like on our phones, and we did it live on air and just pointed microphones at him and like hoped for the best, and it turned out pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but he said something that was really interesting in that like he treats every performance. I think he said like kind of like mathematically, where he knows his songs so well. And is like proficient enough at his instruments that like he'll speed up or slow down or kind of like match the flow of the room. And so if they're feeling low, he can kind of meet them low and then build them back up.
Yeah.
And granted, he has the advantage of being one person.
Yeah, with the drum, also playing drums. Yeah, I think so too. Like you could really feel out the room, and like back in the day, it was much easier for me to just switch. Like I'll just switch the whole set around.
Yeah.
Like, and the band, of course, our band like hates that so much. But
Just calling an audible.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, now what do we do? But now it's like I'm trying to make it a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
So it's like give and take, I think, in that aspect of like, yeah, you got to read when people like don't want to hear something, you know. So I try to get better at that.
Yeah.
I'd say. But that's an interesting way to look at it, I think.
Yeah. So I feel like since we're in a car, I want to hear more about your I guess we can call it debut album, 94 Corolla.
Yeah.
And that kind of reflects the time that you spent living in a car, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience and like kind of what do you carry with that? Or what part of that is still carried with you?
Yeah. Okay. So to start the story, I just got my first tax return. I think it was my first tax return. I got $1,200. So I was looking for a car to get, and I couldn't really find any cars. For some reason, I'm the type that I had to buy it that day.
Yeah.
So I went on Craigslist that morning.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll forget.
I'm like, I have to get a car right now. And so I started walking around, and finally I went on Craigslist, and I saw a 1994 Toyota Corolla for $700, and it had 150,000 miles on it, and I was like, that's pretty good. And then, but there must be something wrong if it's $700, you know?
Yeah.
So I called them, they wouldn't call me back, and I emailed them, and they wouldn't email me back for like 4 hours. So I like dug in and did research, and I saw out of the corner of the picture was 2 U-Haul trucks parked right next to each other. So I was like, okay, interesting. If it was just one, you couldn't really say anything, but since it was 2, it must be near a U-Haul place. So I walked all the way across town to the closest U-Haul place, like U-Haul store, and then started walking around, and finally I found a tow company, and I started like rummaging through their like place, and then I saw it in the corner of my eye, and I looked over and I walked, and I think it was the same one, it was white. So then I went to the office and I said like, hey, I'm here to buy your car, and she was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, I found the car, it's outside. And she was like, yeah, we haven't replied to anyone. How did you find it? And I was like, I just did my research.
You earned the car.
Yeah, and she was like, and she even gave it to me for a lower price because I was so like, you know, into it. So I bought it, I think I bought it for $600, $650 or something. I think it was $650, she gave me like $50 off.
That's good, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I don't want too much off. So then I got it, and then right around that, like, there's a lot of problems with me and like my dad, and we were living at my stepmom's house, and it was just a really bad situation. So it just caused a lot of problems, and then finally one day he's like, you just gotta get fucking out of here. So I said, all right. So I got into my car, and I, you know, thought I didn't have a musical name at the time, and I really wanted to make like my first real project. Like, I released a lot on SoundCloud, but they're more like random songs that didn't really like mean a lot as a project.
Yeah.
So I decided like I want to make a new project and release it, you know, make it. So then I lived at like a 24-hour fitness, and I would work at a pizza place during the day, and then go to 24-hour fitness at night, and then like produce during the day or go to a library on my day off and just kind of make tunes and write tunes about what I was experiencing and what I was going through.
Yeah.
And the album's not very good, but it still means a lot to me. So yeah.
Very cool.
That's basically it.
So do you feel like in some ways like your 94 Corolla is like immortalized, like has a spirit that like contributed to that album?
Yeah, it is, a lot of the album's about living in it, and it's still like, it just showed me like, that's all I need at the end of the day, is like, you know, somewhere to sleep, and like a way to make music, and that's all I need, you know.
It's pretty liberating.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely tough and like pretty hard, but like by the end of it, it was like I could do this, you know. Like this is what I want to do with my life, and I can do it.
Yeah.
So.
That's really sick.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. I'm going to take a beat here, and I'm impressed with myself for memorizing so much of this. But let me see what else I've been at. Let's see. Okay, all right. I got a couple off the wall ones here. If I'm onto something, we can talk about it. If you're like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, we'll bail out.
Let's do it. Do you mind if I roll this down?
Sure. Or maybe should we turn on some AC? Push button on the left. There you go.
I think this is the on button.
Yeah.
Oh.
On and then the AC button.
Does that work for you?
That should be fine, yeah.
Groovy. Yeah, we are steaming up the windows in here.
We're just 4 dudes.
Just 4 dudes getting in and out in a steamy old car.
Burgers aren't even in here yet.
Yeah.
So I was trying to like explain your music to somebody else, and there were like a couple qualities that I felt like made it really unique. One of which is like a lot of your songs feel like you're vocalizing like an argument that's happening in your head. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like it feels like a very like Frank versus Frank type thing. Am I onto something there?
Yeah. Frank versus Frank is probably the best way to sum up all of my experiences. It's Frank versus Frank. Yeah.
So you're just like going back and forth.
Continuously fighting 2 different ideologies in my head that I don't know which is right or wrong. I'd say even today, yesterday, like it's just how it always is for me, I guess.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is like a lot of artists would like consider themselves like ready to write once they'd like worked through something like that, once they had clarity.
Weird.
And you're turning yours into art.
Yeah.
You know? And it's more relatable that way.
That's
it's like who the fuck has clarity?
What an interesting thing to say. Yeah, I've never ever done that. Where the only way I find the clarity is from doing the song or writing the song. And then like eventually like I find like some clarity, you know? Yeah.
Or at least comfort in the lack of definition.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Or just yeah. And even just saying it makes me feel better, even if I'm still dealing with it.
Quality number 2. You like almost from like a narrative perspective. You like break the fourth wall in your music. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Where like you're like talking to the camera, or you're performing in a way that feels almost interactive or almost like conversational.
Totally. Yeah. Especially live videos.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
You'll see later, or you've already seen. I don't know when this is coming out relative to the videos that we haven't filmed yet.
Yeah, whichever that works. Yeah, I definitely. That's like. It's fun. It's more fun to me. Like looking at a camera and like fucking around. You know, it's just fun. It'd be weird if I just looked off into the distance and like I don't think I could ever do that. You know. Yeah. For me personally.
So how do you react to musicians that like don't really have a sense of humor in their music? Because your music's hilarious.
Thanks.
Like, and God, I hope it's intentional.
Yeah.
Like, oh no. But yeah, I mean, like, there's so much like tongue in cheek. There's so much like, kind of like you were saying, like cognitive dissonance, but like juxtaposed in a way that's like, oh, I've totally been there. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like music is something that like should have that sense of humor in it, or is it like? Is it more real with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, I try never to get into those types of things because I don't fucking know. Like, I'm not someone who knows really anything about anything. So I don't know. I don't know if I have too much of a say of it. But there is like still some like really serious music or artists that are really serious that I like, tend to really like. So it's all, to me, just about however that person expresses themselves, and that's completely valid for them. And even if there's no single joke or tongue-in-cheekness at all, like, that's how it is, I think.
It's got to feel pretty cool then that, like, the sort of, like, consciousness that you have that you put into your music ends up, like, making you and other people laugh, too. Like, imagine that makes the entire thing, like, more fun.
It does. I'm so lucky somehow, like, that happens, you know? It's, like, pretty mind-blowing.
When we were talking about, like, Conor Oberst earlier, like, I don't think I could be Conor Oberst because I feel like I would perform and then just be sad every time.
Yeah.
You know, especially for, like, how wrenching he gets when he performs.
Totally. I think it's, like, don't know him at all, but it seems like a representative of, like, just generally how he feels. And like my stuff, like, would definitely like get high and low and, you know, and stuff. So I don't know. It's I'm sure it's representative himself.
So I want to, from what I've seen, like your music is like, and you as a person or as an artist, you are very polarizing.
Yeah.
And so, well, let's back up. About a year and a half ago, Peach Scones came out. It broke. I just found out it didn't win Tiny Desk. I thought it did.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
Well, you won the internet. So.
Yeah, exactly. We did fine.
One, do you feel like that was a good introductory song for you? Like, do you feel like that was, if there was one to make it, it should be that one? No?
No.
All right,
No.
Why not, and what should it have been?
Why not? Why is it not a good... Okay, it wasn't because it's, to me, it's such a farty song. Like, it's like...
Farty?
Yeah, farty is the only word I could use to describe it.
All right.
It sounds like, to me, like I'm just going... like the whole time. Like, it's just a ridiculous, like, me just being ridiculous, you know, which I like and I think is funny to me and like fun, but it's just, I think it's just a little too like ridiculous and like to be like my representative song. I think another song I have called Romeo and Juliet is,
that was
like,
the first one I heard by you.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I sent it to you.
Yeah, you uploaded a clean version so that I could play it on air.
I put like FCC clean or something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wonder if you can search that.
I could. I'm sure it's still on there. Yeah. So what was I gonna say? So
maybe that's the one that should have broken you.
That's the one that I would have liked, but I don't think it would have in the same way. I think Peach Scone, the reason why it was so big, or relatively, is due to the polarizing nature of it. Like, some people heard the fartiness and like hated it, you know, and then they would just talk shit or do whatever, and then it just made it like kind of bigger because of it. But I don't know if Romeo and Juliet would have done the same thing. But Romeo and Juliet to me still like is really serious, and I'm really proud of like the narrative of it and the lyrics of it. And there's also like some funny moments too.
Yeah.
But it's more of a serious, and I think more serious, and I like that.
And you feel like if somebody's evaluating you based on one song, they'll get like a more accurate perception from Romeo and Juliet than Peach Scone?
Kind of, or it's just, important's not the right word. It's just more special to me, Romeo and Juliet, than Peach Scone was, I guess.
Has there been any, maybe like learning curve? Because, I mean, Peach Scones went friggin', you know, orbital.
Yeah.
You shot up in popularity, which felt like overnight.
Yeah, it was.
Well, do you remember like the first moment that like distinctly felt like, oh my God, this is happening?
Yeah. So okay, so the first day we released it, and like in 24 hours it had 70,000 views. And like, I was like, that's pretty good. Like the videos before, in 3 weeks they would get around 40 to 50,000 views. So I said, okay, this video is like gonna do like significantly better.
Yeah.
And then the next day we woke up, or like the night after the 24 hours, I guess, however you say that, we woke up in the morning and it had 1 million views. And like at that moment, like, was still really, really like surreal, and I didn't necessarily believe it at all. So we were just like, our whole band like was calling each other like, dude, what the fuck is going on? And it still didn't sink in. And then one moment, like, I think I saw someone share it or something. I can't remember what it was, or like, it just sunk in one moment, and I like am standing in my kitchen, and it just like sinks in, like, I'm gonna be a musician for like at least a couple years, you know?
Yeah.
Like I am going to be a musician now. Like I was before, but like I'm going to like find like a stable living, like, and not being like completely broke and like not able to pay rent. And I just felt like a vibration in my body of like pure joy. And I like go outside in my backyard and I just stand there and I just look around, and I'm just like feeling what I think was like pure joy for the first time in my whole entire life.
I imagine like relief too, if like all those things were weighing on you before, and suddenly like all of these things that like concern you in your day to day like evaporate in what feels like a moment.
Dude, one moment, exactly. Exactly, that's how it was. Like, so worried about, even if a week before I wanted to stop making music and try to get an internship with the Sacramento Kings.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's like where I was at, like musically. Like I didn't really want to do it anymore because I felt weird about it. And then the next week, like, in one moment, I'm fine. It was amazing. It was
You know what else
amazing.
is amazing?
Huh.
In and out.
In and out.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on, man? Do you know what you want?
I think so, yeah. I will take a double, please, animal style.
Would you like the combo or just the burger?
Just a burger.
Oh, good.
If I could have,
split a fry.
yeah, we can split a fry, and then like a water, if that'd be cool.
Okay.
Cool. I'm gonna get ready for this. Double, animal style,
Okay.
protein style,
Okay.
sliced chilies,
Okay.
and whole grilled and raw onion.
Damn.
I may have been coming here all my life.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a very LA order right there.
Whatever these guys want up front. It's one of those things, like, I wonder if I've, like, desensitized myself to a normal In-N-Out order.
Probably.
Where it's like, I gotta, like, keep upping the dose or some shit.
Every time.
Can I
That's
get a
funny.
double animal style?
I bet this place is always busy. All the time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I already lived in El Segundo
Yeah.
when this got put in. Before it was like 5 miles that way or 5 miles that way. This is 0.8 miles from my apartment.
Oh shit.
That's danger
Yeah.
close.
yeah.
In ordinance terms, that is danger close.
That's walking, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, yeah.
That's drunk water.
Yeah.
It's not enough time to talk myself out of getting in and out.
I mean, now it's on my way home from work.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna need some new pants.
Oh my gosh.
Get the stretch
Yeah.
Ride my bike.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you exercise on if you ride your bike for 15 minutes, you can eat whatever you want that day. It's a wash. You already earned it. You owe yourself In and Out. Gosh. They don't even sponsor us or anything.
No.
They probably fucking should.
I know by now. Yeah.
All right, so I want to go back to the kind of success. You know, you had that like crystallizing moment of like, oh my god, by some standards, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What got easier with like the way your life changed after that? And, like, what got harder?
What got easier? I didn't have to really worry about money anymore because of like streaming revenue, and then I signed to like a label or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was like, and still is like a huge relief of not having to worry about like how I'm paying my rent.
Yeah.
Like that's, to me, like I would have days of melting anxiety. Like how am I gonna like keep my place? So I don't have to deal with that. But like on the other side, the more difficult part is, one of them is, I thought growing up and being a musician that like this would happen to me and I would just be happy. And I'd be like, this is like what I want, this is my dream, and like if I achieve it, it'll make me happy. And like it was really shocking to me to realize that it doesn't make me happy. Like it provides more tools to make me happy, but like the happiness comes for sure from like within, and my perspective on life, and like thankfulness and gratitude to everything. So I'm still working on it and like have my days for sure, but it like was pretty like, I don't know, like disappointing that it all just didn't work out and click, I guess.
Yeah.
Though I should have known better. I was definitely being really naive. But yeah, and like to be honest, like the polarizing nature, or whatever, like the criticism that I've received is like kind of tough, and I'm getting better at like handling it. But it is kind of like hard to hear that a bunch of people hate you. Human nature, I think.
Yeah. Well, so maybe that leads into like, so how do you react to criticism? Do you care about the criticism? Do you pay attention to it? Do you try to ignore it? How does that land on you?
I try to ignore it for the most part. I don't have internet on my phone at all, so I took off like, I have screen time on iPhone, so I give myself 1 minute a day on like all like websites and stuff, or like Instagram, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's like a way to do it. And then, but I still like, I got a really bad review written about my latest album in some major like thing.
Was it Pitchfork?
It was Pitchfork. And it was,
That doesn't mean it's a bad album. That just means Pitchfork was feeling pretentious that day.
that's what it was, man. That's what it was. But it's like, and I know it's like off base, and it's like, was more of a personal attack than an album review, to be real. But it's still like, no matter what, I don't know if I'm ever gonna get over people like being extremely rude and like disrespectful towards me. And I gotta try, but it still is like offensive, and it makes me upset. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to get around it.
It's, I mean, I on a much smaller level, I can relate to this. I get, I mean, Fistful Vinyl has generally the best comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like most of them are like really positive, really flattering to the artist. every once in a while, like I'll put out like an interview or a song or something, and people just fucking rip into it.
Really?
And it's like, oh, hold on, I'm like trying to share something with you. I'm
Yeah.
trying, like, this is a little, like, I love what I do, but I also, like, I'm trying to like, give a gift to people.
Yeah.
I think I'm giving them something they'll enjoy.
Yeah.
And
That's-
like,
yeah.
you're right, it's really hard not to take it personally sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something that's like very much you. Like, I get attacked for my interview technique
That's
sometimes.
fucked up. Yeah.
And it's like,
That's
well,
sad.
I'm fucking doing the best I can.
Exactly. Exactly. And
And-
people don't understand that for some reason.
The thing that's worked for me, at least works for me most days, is like I really did a deep analysis of like do I like how I interview? Do I like that it's kind of more conversational, more just like, you know, free form, and less like here are the most intense questions I can come
Yeah.
up with.
The common bullet points. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to. My interview technique is I want to ask people questions they maybe haven't been asked before.
Mhm.
I want them to think about answers before giving them,
Mhm.
and I want it to be kind of fun, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, like there's no gotcha element to this, and I recognize that in some journalism that's like a calling card. But
Yeah.
if somebody doesn't like my interviews for those reasons, and it's just like, well, I'd rather do the thing that I like and feel
Yeah.
good about it than like make this, you know, jerkwad on the internet happy.
Totally. And they can go find another platform to go see that, you know, if
And-
that's what they want.
And they will.
Yeah.
Most of the time, and this is probably the bigger thing, is like it has little to nothing to do with you.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's, yeah, totally. Totally. I agree. It's sometimes I really feel like it's like a projection of other things, but it's not for me to necessarily judge, but it is mind-blowing to me. I don't think I've ever one time on YouTube ever, or Twitter or any platform, said something negative. Like, usually if I have a negative opinion, I'll just like keep it pushing, you know, and like keep scrolling. So it's so weird. It's so weird for people to do that to me.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a thing as positive criticism too,
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, like I recognize this is a cool thing you made. This is like how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe we're expecting a lot of YouTube. This is generally considered like the wasteland of the internet.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're gonna change that.
No.
But
This interview is the fucking marking point of the change of the internet.
yeah, October 15th, 2019, the day the internet changed. It's just our photos on Time Magazine, just looking into the future.
Person of the year, people of the year.
Well, we were talking earlier about the vulnerability in your music and how much like yourself and autobiography you put into it, including like kind of your feelings on stuff from the past. Has massive notoriety changed the way that you be vulnerable or the challenges that come with being vulnerable?
I'm not. I don't think so. But it's tough because a lot of the songs were written before. A lot of the songs on the new album were written before Peach Cone. So I think the next album that I put out is going to be the answer to that. We'll see how it is. And I think it makes it harder because it's harder for me to come up with poems now. So
What is that?
I think it's because I know that people are going to criticize them, to be honest. So I'm still creating some once in a while, but I'm busy, like we're touring and we're doing other stuff, and I just finished producing like the album. Feels like not that long ago. So I haven't gotten into like the right mode yet of like just clear, my mind's free to like think. But we'll see. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah,
It's gonna be hard,
yeah.
I think.
And it kind of should be, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It shouldn't come easy.
No, you're right. It shouldn't, but I'd spend a lot of my time like I'd be walking around or riding my bike to work or doing whatever, and it would just pop into my head like the first line, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how they always start, is they just pop into my head, and then I go from there, and then I have to like sit down and like think about it or focus on it, and then more lines will come. But I'm getting less of the pops in the heads, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's got to sit down and really just try and write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a kind of a unique position right now where it's like, you know, you recognize, but you know, try to kind of insulate yourself or at least like protect yourself from like the harmful effects of criticism.
Yeah.
And you have music that like we were saying, kind of breaks that fourth wall. Like you're in a position to have like the most like realistic or like least contrived fuck the haters moment ever, where you're talking to your audience anyway.
Yeah.
You're like, and like, here's a rhyme I came up with, and like, some of you aren't gonna like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to, I don't know, if they're looking for a platform, maybe that'll help them in the long run. Maybe they'll feel validated by that.
Maybe, and that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to validate anything like that's. I don't want to do any of that. Like, I try not to even acknowledge it ever. Like, just what it is.
I feel yeah. Well, you, I remember you saying that Hobo Johnson, you're kind of picturing as like a temporary thing. At least that's what you're looking at right now, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the rise, the fall of Hobo Johnson, the revenge,
The revenge, and the death.
And the death.
I think, yeah, pretty dramatic.
Is that kind of loose, or you feel like pretty?
It's pretty solid. It's
Yeah.
pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Is
Yeah.
what I feel like. It's gonna. I think that's how it should be. I think it should be 4, and then after that, I don't know if I'll change my name or maybe I'll keep the name and just come up with different, like, titles, like whatever. Go back to like Hobo Johnson's blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and like that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm releasing a Christmas EP I think this year.
Oh, nice.
And like a EP in March called Hobo Johnson Alienates His Fan Base. So maybe I'll just
There you
like
go.
like back to that, and then go from the rise, the fall, the revenge, the death, and then go from there. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to retire the name too eventually, and maybe go back to my normal name or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What so the name, did it just kind of come to you? I full disclosure went to Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, said like, I'm interviewing Hobo Johnson. What should I ask him? And a bunch of folk punks wanted to know if it's related at all to Johnny Hobo and the Freight Trains.
Yeah, I get that a lot. So I don't think so, because I'm trying to recall if I heard of him before I lived in my car, and I don't know. I think it's possible, but I don't think it was like, I definitely didn't think about it when I was doing it.
Yeah.
So it might have like been like a subconscious thing, but I definitely got really into Ramshackle Glory, like I think somewhere in that time. So I don't know. It might. I hope not.
Yeah, well, I like the kind of subconscious argument. Like it was somewhere in your awareness, somewhere in your like
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
Because at first it was Hobo Jones.
Hobo Jones.
So Hobo Jones. So I was in my car and it was supposed to be Hobo Jones.
Ketchup?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, please, let it rain.
Raining ketchup.
Please, I always say it.
That's what Slayer plays
Let
at
it
kids'
rain,
birthday
comments,
parties.
please.
Do you see the little like the die that I had on the table at home, like the D20?
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of the theory behind that is like I said, like, I think people just like being talked to like they're people.
Yeah.
I think there's a tendency of people who listen to music and like really, really get into it to kind of forget that the artist making it is a person.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And start to look at them like only as a musician or only as an
Totally.
artist. So as a means of kind of offsetting that, I came up with just like 20 questions that are just kind of goofy, whatever questions that have little to nothing to do with like being a musician.
Yeah.
And the idea is like we go back, we roll the die.
Nice.
Yeah, and we'll just answer whatever question comes up. And
I love that.
Yeah.
That's sick.
yeah,
That's a great idea.
It's fun. Do you ever fuck with D&D? Have you ever played
Dude,
that?
I want to play D&D so bad. I think I would enjoy it so much, but I never got around to doing it.
Shit, dude, if you were around on Sunday, I would say you should join our game.
We're out of town on Thursday. But
Yeah.
that would be really fun. I would really like to. Maybe next time I'm in town, or like, that'd be cool.
It all comes down to like having a really good dungeon master.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like the person has to be like okay, like making an elaborate plan, an elaborate plot line for you to follow, and having all the characters be like, let's go this way instead.
Yeah.
Just like that would infuriate me. But our DM's like a really, really like smart guy. He's great at storytelling. He designs video games for a living.
Wow.
So like we're really lucky, and we just have like a solid group.
That's so sick. Yeah, you have to be really creative to be a dungeon master, and like also improvisational. It sounds like.
I don't know that I could do it.
I don't- yeah.
You have to keep so many details straight in your head at the same time, and like also be ready to make something up on the fly.
Yeah.
Like,
That's pretty hard.
yeah. So that is to say, we have a really good DM who would be psyched to roll you a character for a
Yeah,
session.
that'd be sick. I had this idea of like playing it for a bit and then trying to make like a really dramatic like short film of like a Dungeons and Dragons game with like scored and like, or, you know, really intense.
That'd be really dope.
I think it'd be cool. I haven't seen anyone do that.
The closest that I can think of that's come to that is like, did you ever watch the show Community?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had like a couple D&D episodes.
Yeah, they
Where,
did.
I mean, it was more like lampshading on that, where it's like, oh, hey, we're all still in the study room or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was part of what got a bunch of my friends interested in it, and like it's cool it's becoming like more normal too. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was weird. I think for a while it had a stigma to it, of like.
Basement dweller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think now it's like, I think it's just generally more accepted in the community.
Oh, definitely, very much so.
Weird, yeah.
It's when we started playing like our campaign started in like 2015.
Wow.
So like our characters are like actually getting up there.
That's insane.
Um,
And the same characters for 3 years? 4
Oh
years?
man, some of the same characters. My character, who I rolled with for like 2.5 years, died, and it was like actually a challenging
Oh
experience.
my god.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well, okay.
Insane.
He died because he rolled with a d20. He rolled 3 ones in a row. It's a 1 in 8,000 chance. I've done the math.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dude, that must have been a heartbreaking moment.
I was like quiet for the rest of the day. I had to like process that shit. I was like, I was like more invested than I realized too.
That's a great story. That's amazing.
Rest in peace, Deltan.
Yeah.
Have any kids or what?
Not yet. No, he didn't even get to leave his
Does
mark
that
on the
happen?
planet.
Indeed.
You can do that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you can do
It's
whatever.
just anything, I guess, right?
Kind of literally whatever you want.
You just gotta roll a 20. That easy, babe.
Yeah.
Get divorced 1 through 10.
Yeah. You roll a 1, your kid's kind of a screw up. you roll a 1, you find out down the line it's not even your kid.
So we went to Paris one time, and you can drink openly there, like wherever on the river.
Oh yeah.
And there's a few moments. I think it was the Seine. Is that how it's pronounced? The Seine River. And I was thinking about it, I was like, I should just jump in this motherfucker, dude, right now. I should just jump in and see what happens. I think people would usually just freak out, I think, but.
I think also like rivers in metropolitan cities are generally like pretty fucking
Oh,
gross.
it's disgusting, bro. It smelled so bad. It smelled so bad. But it still would just like, I think I was also kind of fucked up, but like, just the idea of like saying it or like knowing that I just jumped into the Seine River, I don't know. It seemed almost worth it, but apparently not.
You gonna reenact that song from La La Land?
What's wrong with that?
Emma Stone sings about jumping into the Seine River.
Does he?
No,
Fuck. Well,
it's kind of perfect. You could have met Emma Stone. What if that was the day she jumped in?
that would have been cool. That's a good movie. I don't remember that song, but
That was the one she sang, I think, in her audition.
you guys really know La La Land. Scene by scene.
It's about our city, man. We gotta like, it's just encyclopedic.
It's a
Filmed
great.
it outside our apartment. It's really weird. It's super annoying.
They actually did. They did film some of it in Hermosa Beach, the lighthouse.
Like, this fool's like
Fuck
out.
off, Ryan Gosling.
Get it.
You're complicated. Nobody cares. Frank, this is a D20.
Sure.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna give this a roll,
Yep.
and I got 20 questions, and we'll just answer whichever one comes up.
Okay, let's do it.
Off you go. It's all you, bud.
Oh, it's me
Yeah,
roll.
that's it.
Okay,
I
right. let's
cannot
do it.
roll your
Roll my die.
destiny for you. Oh my God, it's a 1.
It's a 1.
Confirm it.
Oh,
Alright,
yeah, you got it? 1.
All right, so 1, baby. So the way that we've done this in the past, because believe it or not, bands, this is like the 3rd time a band's rolled a 1. Oh no, statistically improbable. You're asked kind of like, sort of like an exposing question, and then you have to come up with the question that we ask the next band that rolls a 1.
Oh, shit.
All right. So
Damn.
the question is, what do you consider a failure? I'm gonna grab a fry, let you think about that.
Wow.
Ruthless, right?
Huh. Yeah, that's a hard question. What do I consider failure? I feel like it would be me doing something and then being disappointed by my effort.
Not by the outcome, but by your effort.
Yeah,
Interesting.
by my effort. Not about the outcome, because if I tried really hard and something got fucked up, it's like, well, like I can't do that anyways. So, but if it's like, if I get disappointed by like my effort or my lack of trying, then that's what like really, I get really disappointed by and what I consider a failure.
It's a very honest answer, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What should I ask the next poor bastard that rolls a one?
I don't know. What's another hard question?
We can think about it if you want, because I also want to ask you about like kind of we're talking about like kind of what's next for Hobo Johnson.
Yeah. Let's do that. That might take me a second to really like sit there and think.
Oh
about
yeah, I don't want you to rush an excruciating question.
Yeah.
You mentioned in one of your interviews that your song about like the kind of cockroach apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about turning that into a musical.
Yes.
Are there any updates on that? Are there any?
No, we're kind of busy right now touring and stuff.
Yeah,
so we
okay,
can't,
okay, that's a valid.
Yeah, valid reason. And then kind of some other like musical projects. So the goal is we're gonna finish touring around February. So I'm gonna get back to my house and like maybe go on vacation or like hang out for a couple weeks, and then I'm going to pick another like project of something that I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's either like film or like the musical You and the Cockroach. I think You and the Cockroach is the most exciting to me right now. So I think it's a high probability that I'm going to do it. It's just going to be a massive amount of effort and like coordination, and I'm not very good at coordinating like I think a lot of things. So it's going to be a really difficult, challenging task, but I think it sounds really fun, and I want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word.
So yeah, I don't know if people have heard it, but basically it was about like the world falling apart. Eventually, like starts with the Big Bang. You try to play on like how religion and evolution can like go hand in hand, you know, science and like God or whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually get to the point where they discover all these new things, dying and religion and government stuff. And Trump comes to be, nukes the whole world. Kim Jong nukes back, whatever it is, and then the only thing left is cockroaches. Cockroaches start their own civilization and like, you know, rise from the ashes. And then I don't know if it's gonna be like I don't know if they're gonna create their own like society that I think they should create, or what I think would be the best society. Like which is exciting to me is like I could try to implement like my ideas for government and my ideas for like money or like the solutions that I would think would work, though they probably won't. Or they delve into the same like human nature, kill each other again, bicker, fight, whatever. So yeah, that's the idea.
And then nuke each other with a very specific change.
Yeah.
I love the punchline of that song. It's like, well, nukes don't kill them, so we have to make a bomb with a boot.
Yeah, with a giant shoe. Yeah, it's like, it feels like quite the dad joke to me that it has to be a shoe. But
Did you ever? Oh gosh, not Andy Warhol. Oh my gosh,
Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman. Thanks for like knowing where I was going and being like 5 steps ahead of me. It's like his whole like radical form of comedy that involved like, what was it, like the fuck you clown joke? Did you ever hear that? It's about like this guy, and I hope I'm attributing this right. I'll own it if I didn't. But it's about this guy who like goes to the circus, and some clown, like a mimey clown, like points him out and like imitates him, and just like it's funny, but like devastates the dude. So he leaves and just bent on revenge, right? And he goes home and he plots and he follows the circus and he identifies the clown, and like he goes and sees the same circus 100 times.
Is this
and
a
sits
sketch?
in the same seat. It's like a bit that he does.
Oh, wow.
And like he goes 100 times, and then finally when the clown goes to imitate him again, he stands up in the audience and triumphantly goes, "Fuck you, clown." And at the end of the joke isn't that the punchline is funny. The joke is that like the joke lasted 15 minutes and he got people to sit there and listen to the entire thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like
That's funnier than mine, but it's kind of the same idea, where it's like this whole massive like landscape has been painted, only to end with a shoe being like the final solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, I like to always end our interviews the same way.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you still owe me a 1.
Yes.
But I want to know what's on your playlist right now, and hand in hand with that, what artists do you feel like deserve more attention than they're getting? Like they're awesome and people just don't know about them yet.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go. First thing will be the playlist. So playlist, let's see. I've been listening to so much early 2000s pop music for some reason, and it's like not good for me. But it's like Gavin DeGraw. You guys know Gavin DeGraw.
Yeah.
So I listen to Gavin DeGraw. I'm listening to like Carrie Underwood hits. Dude, it's like just all of the pop songs like from the day for some reason. Like
I'm suspecting some Vanessa Carlton stuck in
Vanessa
there.
Carlton, yeah, we covered it the other day. For some reason, I'm like falling in love with like that style of like rock pop ballads. I just like love them for some reason.
Yeah.
Since You've Been Gone, Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
Just those songs for me are so like they just get me going. So that's it too. What else have I been listening to? Dude, not much else other than that. I've been getting into making playlists, but I gotta get away from that. I used to only listen to albums like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I kind of fell into like the playlist route, but I gotta get back to focusing on albums and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I've been listening to. And artists that deserve more recognition, I would say all of the openers on our current tour right now, which would be Mom Jeans, is a great band. I think a lot of the people that subscribe to your stuff would really like Mom Jeans.
Oh, definitely. I've tried to book them before.
Have you? And they
Yeah.
said no?
They didn't say it was just like a timing thing.
Yeah.
Lots of bands want to work with us. It's just like, we're in town for 3 hours on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, crap, my boss wants me at work. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sick if you did something with them.
Yeah.
And then
Farside? Or no,
Philharmonic.
Philharmonic, thank you.
Farside would be cool too.
I think they need more attention.
Philharmonic is a great musician from Sacramento, who's the homie, and he's really, really, really talented, and his music's really good. And then Nate Curry as well is another musician from Sacramento who's also really, really talented and a great singer and very melodic and very good at making melodies. And that's who I shout out. I'd say.
Dope. Well, let's go shoot some music. I got a cool spot I want us to film at.
Yeah.
And we'll just think about the one along the way or something.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, word. Well, thanks everyone for watching our interview. Subscribe to A Fistful of Vinyl. Click the subscribe button. Click the bell that's next to it. Leave friendly, really supportive comments.
And that's it.
Yeah. Or at least like compliment sandwiches, you know, like if you got a criticism, put something nice before it and after it. That makes me feel super good. I know it'll make Frank feel good too. And listen to us every Thursday night on KXOU, and go to afistfulofvinyl.com, and I think that's most of our platforms. Patreon, that's a really good one. And Frank, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I love it. This has been super fun and a long time coming. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Cool. Bye, guys.
Oh yeah, that felt good, right? That ending.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. My question for another band would be: do you actually think you would enjoy being a really, really huge band?
Like success-wise?
Like success-wise, like.
Would you enjoy massive top 40 success?
Yeah. Do you think? And maybe for the people that you interview, it might be a little bit different. They'd probably say fuck no. But I think there's something in every musician's heart that makes them want to be the biggest, like, well-known. Because I think a lot of being a musician stems from like feeling unappreciated in general life when you're growing up, or like no one really cares about you or whatever. So I think deep down, like, there's this thing that makes you want everyone to know who you are and like you.
It's massive, massive reassurance.
Yeah, massive. That's exactly what it is.